Dear Venerable Sister and Brothers, Dhamma friends, we are going to have the talk today. May everyone settle down for the talk and give the consent with 3 times sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Katame tayo dhamma bahukara sappurisa sansevo saddhamma savanang dhammanu dhamma patipatti ti. Dear Venerable Sister, Brothers and Dhamma friends, we are proceeding along this particular sutta known as Dasuththara Sutta, delivered by Venerable Maha to his other co-practitioners, and now we are in the book of 3, and he is asking Katame tayo dhamma bahukara, and which 3 things are greatly helpful, that is help towards our aim for the total emancipation. And asking the question, he directed the attention and then he gave the answer so that the other person can clearly comprehend what is the question and what is the answer. Even this question is impossible in the today's world, because we are asking so many things, never refer to this, the liberation, well-being, or any kind of lack of a frustration, lack of attention, because people never think even. They are always asking, what are the golden things to achieve the political gain? What are the golden rules to achieve the economical gain? And the social status. So experts are coming from whole countries and deliver talks, so in a rhetoric way, and we also go and listen, but they themselves do not know there's a kind of a least frictional path or emancipation or liberation. So therefore one has to ask the question, or forming the question itself is revolutionary. Not only Venerable Maha is asking, what is the thing greatly help? What are the 2 things greatly help? What are the 3 things greatly help? What are the 4 things greatly help? Each and every question is so discreet. It is so delimited. Only he can raise even the question. And after drawing the attention of the audience, he give the answer that is so precise, never make any contradiction with the other teaching of the Buddha. So that is why it is called the theory of knowledge, or graphical form presentation of the knowledge, and it is a kind of a very deep analysis. So not only it is leading to Nibbana, that is of course supramundane gain, but the presentation and graphic form and the way it is presented is something new for the human mind. To think about how the mind is working, how the grip and how the release, and how the mind is working and how it is to be taught to the disciples like. So, as the answer, he says, Sappurisa Sansevo, that is the association with the noble friend, good friend or true man. The second thing is Saddhamma Savanang, the hearing the true Dhamma. The third one is practice of the Dhamma in its entirety, or Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatti. That means if you are sure this is the one leading to the liberation, then only by listening, only by comprehension, or only by appreciation, it will not be served the purpose. And there is a task, there is your commitment, and that commitment is called patipatti. The patipatti means it is not a one shot, it is not overnight, it is a repetitive application and utterly trial and error method. There's no the foolproof system. Therefore, Patipatti, you are building up your own history by your early mistakes, and nothing you throw away. Each and every mistake is evolving according to your likings and disliking, according to your cultural upbringing, and according to your personality or personality traits. So therefore one has to do once and report to another person, and if possible refine it and do it again more and more you practice. Ultimately you understand the least frictional path, and that is according to your own one. Therefore, the patipatti of your neighbor, the patipatti of the person sitting next to you is not yours. He may be or she may be coming from the different background or different combination, so therefore repetitive application. Being so diversified among individuals, it was the omniscient knowledge of the Buddha to proclaim a single standard norm as patipatti. And within that frame, each and everyone has to make the fine-tuning, adjustment, tuning in, and that is why we do, after 2600 years later, far away from the place where the Buddha emerged, and we try our best with our case history, with our trial and error, how to refine it. And there is no Buddha to see through and to understand the situation. So utterly you have to report what is your experiment, and you have to name the experiment. What did you do? What did you comes to know? That is what we structure in the interviews. You have to tell, this is the subject I am going to talk about. And this is my meditation. This is the way I advert my mind. And when I do that, this is the outcome. Then if that kind of a clarity is there, that is to say, without your interpretation, without your value judgment, without your preconceived ideas, without your premeditated thoughts, if you can just report, patipatti is very straightforward. Even though it is diversified from the person to person, even it is different from the starting balance of each and everyone, this reporting is very important. Then only the communication can take place. Otherwise, you may be talking different language, the instructor may be talking the different language, they never go hand in hand. So therefore, whenever it comes to the, what you call patipatti, something living. It is something organic. That connection is the most beautiful thing. It's in Hindu tradition, it's called the grace of the teacher, and the devotion of the disciple. So it's a very beautiful thing, so that both the parties has to understand the gravity of the task and the trial and error method, incessant kind of application, and ultimately we come into the same language, same communication, then patipatti going to catch the momentum. So Dhammanudhamma patipatti, that is to say the practice of the Dhamma in its entirety, the Buddha himself briefed with 37 factors of enlightenment. That's called in Sattis Bodhipakkhya Dhamma, and it's a kind of a tool bag towards the end of the Buddha's duty. That means towards the end of the 45 years of his work on the earth, specifically towards the Maha Parinibbana Sutta, the sermon he delivered towards his great demise, he tried to configurate or try to catch the gist of his whole 45 years of teaching, and again he referred to these 37 factors of enlightenment. That means at the beginning, the starting point is for foundation of mindfulness, Sattara Satipatthana, and then 4 limbs of striving, Sattara Samyak Padhan Virya, Sattara Irdipada, the 4 ways to achieve the goal, go to the individual traits. And then Pancha Indriya, 4 faculties, 5 faculties you have to develop. And then 5 powers you have to develop. Improving the faculties, you become power. And then 7 factors of enlightenment, and the last 8 noble paths. When everything come together, it is 37. And the beautiful thing, to get a summary of them is, in these 37 factors, if you take 4 foundation of mindfulness as a one tool bag, and then 4 limbs of striving as another tool bag, there are a number of tool bags, one after the other you have to use it. And throughout the effort or your energy mentioned 9 times. That means your energy evolving one after the other as you improved in 9 times. That means initial energy, that means called launching energy, and the sustenance energy, and then the fulfilling energy. That's the way you can reduce into 3. And within that also there are some 3. That means 9 types of energy. So how much your starting energy is being refined towards the liberation is, at the beginning, so much of fuel. At the last, when you are liberating, it is happening utterly automatically, utterly effortlessly. So you have to understand the evolution of the energy itself. So early part of this, the burning so much of fuel, the Western mind do not like. They wanted to have the quick enlightenment. Because it is, the Buddha mentioned the last lap of the energy is a very automatic thing. It is kind of a effortless thing. So they wanted to see Buddha as a person teaching the Patipatti right from the beginning to the end, effortless. That won't work. At the beginning you have to do your trial and error. You do invest so much of energy, and when you are advancing only, you understand you can gain the same with little burning of energy. Just like whenever you start the car engine, it needs so much of gas, it needs so much of fuel. And once you get into the idle running, and from the idle running to the first gear, and when you run the machine, when you drive the car, in the first gear, it burns so much of fuel for first kilometer. But if you change it to the second gear, the same amount of kilometers you can run by little amount of gas, little amount of energy. On the third gear, top of fifth gear, and if at the top gear, it's the least amount of fuel because you are in the momentum. So likewise, in the machine the Buddha mentioned, it's called Dhammarata, that is the Dhamma vehicle. That is also at the beginning so much of fuel. So lay people, or specifically we can say householders, those who are running families, daily start and then little sleep, again next day start, again sleep little. Therefore they are burning fuel like anything. They never go to the efficient levels or higher levels. So they find it's very, very exhausting. Because you have never experienced the effortless areas. There you find, yes, at the beginning okay. Once you gather the momentum, it is leading. It is forward leading. Ultimately you can get the thing done with the least amount of investment of energy. So therefore, when the Buddha start with the 4 foundation of mindfulness, he says, in a systematic way, that is the way the Patipatti or the gradual training start, be mindful on your body. And to get the mind, which is roaming around like a mad monkey, into the body or inwardly, it's so much of difficulty. It is like the wild buffalo taken to the village, and then when you tie it to a strong peg, it's become so bewildered, fighting like anything, because it is taken from the wilderness and now it's in the village, so it's not like. Likewise, whenever the mind you restrain, try to restrain to keep within the body, it is so demanding, because it is running past future, other people, other places. Each time to bring it, keep in the body, you need so much of energy. So whenever you try to practice mindfulness on your very body, the first quality the Buddha enumerated is atapi. Atapi means you must have ardent energy to keep the mind within the body. And I would like to say that is the beginning of the mindfulness on the body, or that is the beginning of the patipatti, and you will understand that is the beginning as well as the middle. Ultimately, the day you enlighten, you understand keeping the mind, body is the enlightenment also. That's the final also. So the beginning, the middle and end, exactly the same, just keeping the mind within the body. That's all the enlightenment. But the beginner find it so difficult because we have trained it, or we can say not trained but misused it to run past and future and think it is our duty to think about the others, and think it is our duty to think about other places. So we become outwardly finding excuses to run from the present moment. So therefore to bring it back, or to make your mind unlearn, or make your mind decondition so much of energy. So think about the first day when you sit, how was the situation to keep the mind, or keep up the mindfulness with your body. Think about the second day, third day, first week, second week. More and more you give the facilities or facilitate it, you learn your own ways, what are the techniques or what are the ways to keep the mind within the body. And that is what we call patipatti. Day by day, you train yourself, you experience it within the little bit of effort, or at the expense of little bit of time. Now you can make the mind, here now I am. So that is what you gain. But if you do not notice it, if you do not appreciate it, still you are mindful, but you have no sampajanya, you have no appreciation. So therefore, ever you will complain, my mind is going out. My mind is not with the body. So therefore, you may be sati, you may be already in the mindfulness, you may be already in the body, but you are not looking at it in a positive way. How quickly I can bring it here now I am. Within a short period, how short can I bring it here? That's the only thing you have to promote, facilitate. If it is so, you are not only with the mindfulness, you have the clear comprehension. The effort I have taken is given that much of a result. First day it was so bewildered, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day. Now you see kind of a taming, it is very painfully slow. That is ever developing. That is a norm. More you put forth effort, you can keep the mind within the body. And if you do not appreciate it, instead if you are complaining, whatever the effort I am putting forth, I can't keep the mind 1 hour completely with the body. Whatever the effort I am going to put forth, I can't keep the whole chunk of walking meditation with my body. And day to time also it is running out. That means you may be gradually developing, maybe advancing. But due to lack of appreciation, you can say you are mindful but not clearly comprehending it. So that means sati and sampajanya is not hand in hand. So therefore, after the atapi, with this ardent energy, the Buddha mentions sampajano. You must understand how quickly how easily I can bring the mind to the body. And if you are not reporting it, if you are not appreciating it, you are really blocking your progress. So therefore, second quality is asking is sampajano. You must understand after you get the instructions and after you comprehend and appreciated the instruction, you put forth, you start the practice. When you are doing, how quickly you can bring the mind to the body, how frequently you can bring the mind to the body, and if it is improving, that is the only thing you have to facilitate, that's the only thing you have to report. And by reporting that, you are discouraging the wandering mind. You are discouraging the lack of mindfulness. Otherwise, if you are going to talk highly about the failures in the mindfulness, you are promoting bewilderment. You are promoting wandering mind. Because yatha tata tata viharantang tataseva upanishati. Whatever the way you behave, talk, think, that's the way mind is progressing. If you are to see only the mistakes, if you are to see complaints, if you are to be negative, inferior in your presentation, that means in a hidden way you appreciate the inferiority, you appreciate defilements, you appreciate inefficiencies. So that will become condition, that being habitual, ever see the bad side. So therefore, when and where you practice mindfulness, or for foundation of mindfulness, your attitude must be positive thinking. Present, whatever it may be, and sometimes it is in a going down trend, something ascending trend. Whenever happen, you see changes are there, temporarily ups and downs, but your hope to bringing it back to the mindfulness is ever at your hand. It is at your disposal. So therefore, go again and again. Sampajano must be first. That means understanding the catching, gathering the moment of mindfulness. It's a very crucial thing. And then satima. Then it is mindfulness. So today also there was a question to understand or explain more on the mindfulness and clear comprehension. Usually they go in hand. So when and where you say, now I am mindful on the breath, may or may not be, in the sense, if you can't give your direct experience, if you can't verify, how do you know, how do you make sure that mind is in the body, not with other people, not with other places, not with the past, not with the future. There is a sign. Always there is a direct touch, direct evidence. And sampajano in a practical sense is, whenever you report, you give the under-the-nose experience. You back it by the experience. That means the listener have any kind of a doubt whether he is in a hallucination or is just thinking, or he or she is really experiencing. So this is the lacking part in the Satipatthana yogis. They are really maybe atapi, full of energy, maybe a lot of it faith, maybe a lot of success. But even then, if you are not sampajano or clearly comprehending the mere presentation of the Buddha, so they will find fault within oneself as well as outside. So that is the real definition for defilement. Defilement means you see the dark side. And the efficiency, skillfulness or merit is just see the good side of it. Just see the love spots. Just see the silver lining in the dark cloud. Then you have ways and means, 1001 ways and means to look in that perspective and to increase the silver line. Then you are going parallel with Buddha. Whenever you try to see the dark side cloud, you are completely contradicting Buddha. You are completely contradicting Dhamma, you are completely contradicting Sangha, and you are undermining your precepts also. So when is the point where you are trying to see only the silver line in the dark cloud, or blessing in disguise? So that is what the Sampajano. Of course, when you open the book, there are two further meanings to the Sampajano. One thing is, if I am to give a little in detail, when you are walking, if the mind is about to run out, or wandering, or seeing, or hearing, or whatever may be, off the ground, and if you can feel, or if you have any kind of a restraint, there are 4 kinds of sampajano, 4 kinds of restrainment. It's in the sampajano here appear like a kind of a mental restrainment. Gochara sampajanya, asammoha sampajanya, sappaya sampajanya, sataka sampajanya. Order is gochara, sappaya, sataka, asammoha sampajanya. That means you have to understand, now I am walking, and my mindfulness primary object is the soul touching the ground, and that I have selected, and my mind is going to see the pain or the feeling in the knee. You have to understand, is it still within your body? So if it is within the body, it is within the same pasture land. So don't worry, don't entertain doubts. Of course, while you are walking, even you advert the mind to the soul, there are a lot of things are happening. A lot of metabolic things are happening. Occasionally, your mind can jump into the knee, jump into the heart, jump into the eye, and go in there still if you can make sure it is within the domain of the body, don't entertain doubts. That is to call ajjatta gochara ajjatta arammana. That means you know it is just slipped from your primary object, but it is within the domain, and under such circumstances, don't worry much about, because it is also another function of mindfulness. You are mindful here and now. But the focal point changed. You may be touching, earlier you may be feel the soul, but while observing the soul, it may be jump into the knee. Other places, there you have to accommodate it without entertaining doubts, without considering it as a challenge, without considering it's a weakness of your mindfulness. That if it is going beyond your body and think about the past and future, think about the person walking next to you, or think about back at home, then you have to understand now you have thread pass. You have beyond your limit. That is no more with the gochara ajjatta arammana. There you have to understand, whenever it is going away from the domain, away from your pasture land, you are more at danger. So best thing is to understand the secure land, or it is called oasis, or your non-domain, and the other side, and it never happens without your knowledge. It always happens with your knowledge. Whenever it happens, bring it back to your safe area, or your known area, or appointed area. That is understanding whether mind is jumping, thread passing, or transgressing your domain or not. Don't expect your teacher to do it. Don't expect Buddha to come and help you. Don't expect your other merits by giving dana or generosity or any other thing to come and help. Never. This is a specific one-to-one relationship. Understand the secure land and the unsecure land. It is up to you. That clarity, that comprehension is called gochara sampajanya, understand your domain. And sappaya. Sappaya means whether it is facilitating your mindfulness or macerate or disturb your mindfulness. If it is no problem, it's just a diversification of the mindfulness, multifaceted mindfulness. So then you have to understand still it is promoting mindfulness, and so don't entertain doubts. Let it happen with cautious. But if it is disturbing your mindfulness, that not facilitating, not fertilizing, not feeding, then you have to understand as a beginner, I must not go to that sphere, bring the mind to the known area. So therefore, the beginner's area is very limited. When you expand the skillfulness in the mindfulness, your domain is slowly increasing. So your sappaya area, the conducive area, is slowly increasing. So if you do not know this sappaya sampajanya, you will restrict the mindfulness not to get expanded. And that is the kind of hindrance or hindering or kind of inhibition or phobia can happen. So you have to detect then and there. That also in your responsibility. That's called sappaya sampajanya. Whether the mind is becoming, the mindfulness is becoming radical and try to increase the area, or it is undermining very mindfulness. Clearly you can understand when you are listening to the others' interview reports. How do they experience it? How do they accept it? How do they handle it? Sometimes conducive thing you handle as an enemy. Sometimes it's such a bad thing you consider as friendly. So there is no other way, only by trial and error. Sometimes you asare saramatino sare cha saradassino te sarannadi gacchanti micca sankappa gochara. They don't understand what is conducive and what is not conducive. Under such circumstances, they select unconducive thing as conducive thing. Then you are utterly wasting your time, utterly wasting your everything. But there's a kind of a experience you gain that is not conducive because it is happening under your very nose. So next time you can make use it not to do. So likewise, even if you selected now, even if it is wrong, proven to be wrong, that is also an experience. So when you are going a trip, and if you do not know the destiny, if you do not have the GPS or map, you have to stop in a junction and ask from a person. Of course, in Sri Lanka can do it, in the West it is impossible. Is this a junction to that place? He will say no. Understanding it is not the junction itself is a knowledge. Understanding it is the junction also, it's a good knowledge, but this is also not a bad knowledge. That is what we call sappaya sampajanya. You do mistakes, but every time it says this is good, this is bad, you are repetitive. Next time also you have to do, and there you can, next time when you are teaching another person, he will say there's a junction like that, and don't go there. Please proceed. Likewise, it be a added value for your understanding, and that is called sappaya sampajanya. Sattaka sampajanya means day by day you understand by your trial and error what are the conducive time for your mindfulness, what is the conducive posture for your mindfulness, what is the direction, and what are the preliminary activities it is helpful. Likewise, by doing in the number of ways, you understand the sattaka. What are the things? They are very tiny things. They are very, very subtle things. By repetitive application only you have to understand these are the things I have to make sure before sitting. These are the things I have to make sure before walking. These are the things it is make sure for me to day-to-day activities. It says before sitting, the land must be clear. It must be very nicely prepared. And our Lokohamsa used to say, before sitting, go in front of a Buddha and offer little flowers or do all the kind of thing so that you know now you are preparing for the sitting. And if it is helpful, next day also you are repeating. And if it is not helpful, you do what is the suitable thing. And before walking, you have to sweep the walking path, remove all the thorns and the weeds. Of course, monks are not going to do it because there are some rules and regulation. But if you are a lay person, the treating and sweeping is a kind of contribution you do. And without that, If you say someone has to sweep and before I go there no one has swept, so if you are going with a very disturbed mind, that is not a good omen, good thing. So you have to do it. And in the day-to-day activities also, as a beginner, don't try to push, don't try to regiment. Whenever the circumstances, when the constellation is good, try to make use the mean advantage it rather than pushing. And therefore you never can understand what are the good things for your neighbor, what are the good things for your children, what are the good things for your co-meditator. It's so specific, but you can share with them. That is what the Lokwams used to say, before sitting do this kind of thing, before walking do this kind of thing. It's a kind of a, in Sri Lanka, washing your hand before eating. You know it is washing hand is good, it's a tradition. So you wash your hand. Of course, if you are using cutlery, you have to wash them. And even the cook is not doing or the waiter is not doing, this must be your preliminary activity. So they, just like in our day-to-day activity, you get accustomed. That is to call, that sampajanya is called sappaya sattaka sampajanya. What are the conducive things for sitting, walking and day-to-day activities? But that cannot be hard and fast list. In the rainy season, condition may be different from the dry season and cool season. So they are changing. So you are accumulating so much of historical conditions, so it is evolving. So ever you must be, that's a rather, it's a very, very common sense. And I find yogis are utterly lacking it. They expect the meditation center or the outsiders must give the conducive condition. So they are always sitting with the sour mind. They are not happy, they don't know what to do. Because it is within the yogis domain. They must do it. And that emit kind of good vibrations from each and every person just by preparation. When we are being taught in agriculture, before milking a cow, you must train the cow to that particular time and the particular person. And when the particular person come and keep the bucket on the ground and there's a kind of sounds happen, then you can see the cow is preparing, is urinating and make prayer. Now, no, its time is up. And ultimately you wash the udder with hot water and its milk is now ready. And then start stripping or the sucking machine, then milk happens. No, other time if you go there, you better suck from your horn rather than the bladder, the breast. Because no milk at that time in the breast. You can strip the horn, exactly the same. So at that time only it is ready. And that particular person, and particular sounds, particular thing. So this is a kind of a conditioning. But this facility, this thing, if you expect technical writing from the Google book or internet, you can't find that kind of thing. It is you have to develop. So that is called Sattaka Sampajanya, and that your neighbors can see. When you are preparing, how much you have your preliminaries you do. And the last one is Asammoha Sampajanya. Even a quick change happen, even a failure happen, even a success happen, you know how the chain reaction it happens. When was my mind goes very upset and what are the chain reactions? And whenever it is going to be successful, exactly the same. So, asammoha means you are not adamant and arrogant and going to give up and go. You understand everything happened in number of episodes, one after the other. And each and every episode, whether it's success or a failure, exactly important because this is the way the mind is working. This is called Chitta Niyama, the universal law of the mind. So this asammoha, that is thin slicing of time. How this pleasant mind arises, how the unpleasant happen. So whether pleasant or unpleasant, the thin slicing of the time is a pleasant thing. I am repeating. Even if it's a failure or it's a success, thin slicing of time is a pleasant thing. These are the kind of people can understand what does it mean by insight meditation. How do you can understand the wisdom training. So therefore, asammoha sampajanya, you know from here to there, the chain, how it is happening, success or failure. So when you are reporting, even a failure, you can give a account very clearly that is impersonal. That is the thing happened. I got angry. I was disheartened. And I got the failure, inferiority. But each and everything is a universal law. It is not yours. If you are expecting only the pleasant thing, only the progress, only the creativity, you never understand the truth of suffering. The first and foremost is the truth of suffering. So if it is so, you are still in the pleasure principle. When you expect something positive, so definitely you will end up with disappointment. So the day you can explain how the mind go out or wandering, after understanding that my mind wandered, instead of the sensitivity of the leg, it is now the sensitivity of the eye, and observing visual objects, the colors and the shape, and if you can report it, I am supposed to be in walking meditation here, by in the walking meditation I came to know, I was no more in the sensitivity of the leg, instead I was entertaining a shape, a color, on a visual thing, and what was the color of the mind? Am I discouraged, self-complaining, self-critical, or I can just report, I am off the track, but I know where it is associating. That kind of a report is clearly impersonal, and that is you are highly ready to understand the universal law of the mind. And sorry to say, most of your bright electric experience happen in mistakes than in the success. That is a kind of a secret in the insight meditation. So therefore, not always, but blessing in disguise. If you mishandle it, it's a devastation. If you handle it properly, double positive. So therefore, even then don't expect the disasters, don't expect that kind of thing. 1,001 happens in the day-to-day activities, in the walking and sitting. Whenever it is happening, if you can really explain what is happening, the Buddha says, Janato bhikkhave passato asavanam khayang vadami. When and where dissatisfaction happens, whenever there self-criticism happens, whenever finding fault with others happen, if you can exactly report, it cannot be a criticism. It cannot be a destruction. It is a source of energy, source of wisdom. So that is rather connected with meditation and the common sense. That easily we can say that is what you call the positive thinking. And whatever it happens, you never give up. Even if you give up, immediately you see find the ways and means to reinstall everything and continue the thing. So that again you are contributing to the patipatti. And each time, no, you have to put it this way. No one can go positive to positive ever. There's a lot of drops, lot of the disasters, mistakes, and they are the real beautiful thing in the progress. To explain, it says, when you go to upcountry, you can see brooks and the waterfalls, lot of waterfalls, and they have no smooth flow. They dash against the rocks and splashing, and again coming, and again going, and again falling. It's very beautiful. But when the river is about to empty into the sea, it's very calm and quiet, nothing to see. It's very boring. But when you see the waterfalls, it's dashing against and it is in utterly disturbances, but something spectacular, bright, eventful things to see. Likewise, the early part of the yogis' encounters, very beautiful. Just like children, they don't know what they have shit. They can eat it without any problem. They shit and eat. No problem. And you see that when the bitches are parturated, they eat what the puppies are shitting. No problem. And once you become elderly, only the problem. So one lady told me, mother has gone to the shop, leaving the dog and the baby inside the house. And when she come back, dog has shit and baby is eating. And immediately she called the family doctor, and she was the family doctor, and she told, my baby has eaten so much of shit, what to do? So I asked her to, if it is so, ask her to give little hot water to the child, that's it. No problem. It's not a problem to the dog also. Never. Not a problem to the child. And the mother must understand that is the way. And we know, and in our younger age, we used to eat charcoal. We used to eat candles. We used to eat lime on the walls. Licking. 11 children for my mother, she can't look at each and everyone what is licking and kind of thing. She wash and take into the evening, that's all. But it is not damaging, it is a beauty. And you wanted to have everything perfect, right from the beginning, that means you never trial and error. It is not patipatti. It is not patipada. Patipada means it's a drop, there's a failure. And each time you fail and not give up, and again come and recover, you feel you like Buddha. You are the person reinvented the way. You are the person reinvented the ways and means to come back. And whenever it comes, you see more than a success. Going through a difficulty but still keeping this positive thinking is something utterly human. And I feel that is the human right. Anything, any other than thing, you talk about bullshit, about the human rights. Human right is you can utterly fail and you can reinstall yourself. That is called the tumbling kelly. There's a doll. If you kick it, again wave and come back. And it's a very famous doll in Burma. I made example for the children. And if you kick it, move and again come back. And if you use the compass, the indicator, whatever the shake you give, ultimately move and come back to the north. There are a lot of things. Likewise, is more shaky, ultimately come and settle. Likewise, the early part of your meditation is full of mistakes. And if you can easily, and if you can aesthetically explain the mistake, it's a beautiful thing. That's a kind of a good essays. But no one is happy. They think it's too much personal, or it's a weakness, or lack of personality, or it is nothing to talk about. That is, I call arrogance. That is not the innocence. When you are innocent, easily you can report. And when you are reporting, never a meditation master will find fault. I will give a very touchy experience I heard, but I have no direct, witness or clue. There had been one very senior yogi under the Pandita Sayadaw, and after a while he has gone back to his country. It is not me, anyway. Gone and started the meditation center. And while teaching, he found he is thoroughly engaged in meditation and center, and he wanted to go back and to go for the furtherance of the meditation. So once he asked the permission, Sayadaw told, okay, you can come. And he wanted to be solitude and completely dedicated and meditation. First day, he tried his best to meditate, nothing to report. Everything is a failure. So he went and told Sayadaw, when we are going, we keep a book. We read the book. Said, I am sorry, Sayadaw, I came from traveling, so therefore mind was not settled. And I can't report anything positive on the mindfulness. I said, okay. And the next day he went there and he tried his best. But still the utter failure. So he found hesitant to go to the interviews, but even then he went like a beginner and told Sayadaw, so much of our sitting, so much of hours of walking, but then nothing positive, everything was negative. Sayadaw told him, no problem, you continue. He says, okay. Third day, fourth day. And the fourth day he went to the Sayadaw and looking, he can't look at his Sayadaw's face, so he keep the book in between Sayadaw and himself and start crying. He can't report, it's utter failure. He says, I thought of going back, Sayadaw, that no use of practicing and it's a failure. And I heard Sayadaw crawl down and came under the book and told, your mind is progressing. Because he has not given up. Sayadaw says, under such circumstances, don't give up, because you are heading for a big insight knowledge now. So he wanted to appreciate, so he came crawling and looked under the book and told, mind is progressing. I can't believe because Sayadaw is such a person, but this is a story. So imagine when you are utterly about to give up and still give another try. Nothing like trying, and there may be a huge change, and you never expect in the linear mind. Linear mind expects some early signs. There's no early sign. All of a sudden it happens, utter failure. All of a sudden it happens, success. So still, if you can report both in the equal way, I see, for my value, your enlightenment is insignificant. This is more than enlightenment. This reporting is more than enlightenment. Who the hell can disturb you? Even the Mara can disturb you. Even the Kilesa can disturb you. You know, it just disturbs, and again it is coming back. So when that happens, you gain kind of a relationship with Buddha. You develop a kind of a relationship with Dhamma. You develop the kind of relationship with your lineage. To what a kind of a dedication people to bring this message up to 2,600 years. What a kind of a tolerance, what a kind of resistance they would have. And what are the complaints we are making? Is it worth? Like you feel Buddha Dhamma Sangha and the kind of a knowledge we get it. It is not by any other than under the nose experience. So therefore, whenever you are practicing, you understand early part is so burning, torturing, and when and where you learn this art, slowly you find achieving the same thing with little bit of investment, and the progress is happening. So therefore, early part of mindfulness is utterly painful. Whenever the mindfulness is expanding, appear like utterly painful, appear like losing, going beyond your control or ungovernable, but it's a blessing. It's a endowment. But our rational mind always try to give a wrong interpretation. Therefore, if you are going to include that interpretation into your meditation report, utter miscommunication. Make sure don't put your interpretation, unless otherwise ask. Just report what is happening. Then you can see once you started with only the body, I mean that's a materiality, may not be the anapanasati or rising and falling, whatever may be. When you develop the familiarity with the body, you can't help but the expansion happen to feelings. It is not you. It is not the changing of the gear, not shifting. Ultimately you find my whole report is nothing but a feeling. How do I feel in-breath? How do I feel the out-breath? How do I feel the pain? How do I feel my thought? How do I feel with the sound? Without knowing, you are in the feeling sphere. And when it is happening, when you are furtherance, you can see each and every feeling has its own perception. It's good, it's bad, it's auspicious, it's unauspicious. That is due to your early conditioning. So you understand whatever the encounter is different, how the mind is judging it, valuing it, and assuming it, there's a pattern. There's a pattern. So you have to understand, not considering this pattern is me, myself and mine. You have to understand this is the what bloody culprit controlling me. So you have to disclaim it and just study. When such a thing encounter, how do your mind feel it and perceive it? That perception, if you can report to the interview report, that is very scientific. That's very neutral observer, and that is lacking thing. That is because of our arrogance. That is because of lack of faith. That's because of lack of innocence. And that when it is happening, definitely I agree, you are sacrificing some of your ethical values. You cannot be guarded by ethics at that level. You have to understand what is happening. Something like when you dream, mind you, ethics are not valid to the dream. So if you are explaining a dream, you can hide part and you can enlighten other part and ask the dream interpreter to give a proper interpretation. You have to tell the account of what is happening. As for example, when you go for a counseling, if you are not revealing the truth, or if you are censoring, so much so no communication. So repetitive counseling. And after long time only, it is not you tell, it is something happening like feel you, it is already coming out of it. So that is the beauty of early encounter and the relationship with your counselor. Ultimately when the moment it comes, you are healed. That's called the psychological wounds. They have to surface. They surface whenever the constellation is good, whenever the situation is matured, not by your force, not by your counselor's force. So it is kind of a catharsis going to happen. So mostly that kind of a gist or that kind of the blink happen whenever you report your mistakes. It is so rejuvenating. So imagine how much you must have trustworthiness to your instructor, trustworthiness of your fellow meditator, and if you have any gap in the communication, so much so you have to go on and on in the samsara. Moment you express it, the Buddha mentioned, Tathagatappa vedito dhamma vinayo bhikkhave vivato virochate na paticcanno. The Buddha mentioned, according to the way the Buddha mentioned, whatever you expose, then rectified, all the problems gone. If you hide it, brooding, that is suffer. But in opposite, the Buddha mentioned, the vagina of the female, if you expose, value finished. You have to hide it. The mantras of the Veda, you have to cover. You have to make it as a mystics. Then only mantra is working. But the Dhamma Vinaya, but the Buddha mentioned, something you exposed, not to the whole world, but to your meditator, meditation master or your co-meditator or senior, moment you expressed, go. The best example given is, whatever the dirty thing, whatever the virulent bacteria you expose to the sun, under the sunlight, no bacteria can live. No germs can live except germs which is degenerate the carbonic matter. Not pathogenic bacteria can live under the sun. So once exposed to the sun, all the dirty matter ultimately end up with the compost. So when we meditators get together, if you can express yourself within slicing of time and with trust, by expression it's gone. That's we call the sab-brahmachari. That's we call the congregation. That's why it's called the sangha. No more than blood relations, we share. That sharing happen to understand even the mind go astray, going for bewilderment, going for wandering. There's no dirtiness there. if you can make an account. If you can tell, this is where it happened. Because that mind is not yours. It's a magic. So you have to witness it, report it. Witnessing sati, reporting sampajanya. Even if you witness, if you hide, if you filter, that is what you call your personality trait. That is what you call your ignorance. That is what you call your desire. That is what you call your conceit. So do away with this kind of thing, but not at all, not all at once. Slowly, slowly. So the relationship also increasing, internal communication also become a superconductive, and when you are expressing also, you never hide something, you express it. So these things happen slowly, slowly. So whenever you learn how to understand the body's signals, that is called body knowledge, and to report, then you understand the feelings, then you understand the mind perception, and you understand how many juggleries you do whenever you try to hide it. The crafty mind, your perverted mind. So the straight path is the shortest path. Whenever it becomes crooked, it's longer. It's complicated. So ultimately, when you comprehend your body, your feeling, your perception and your volitional activities, you understand the next person sitting, the person next sitting you, exactly the same like you. There is no difference. Only when you hide something, only we have a communication gap, there are two people. When there is no communication gap, bodily different but the mentally equal. So that relationship is called Dhamma relationship. And that is called the living or running blood is mindfulness. So our blood relationship it's a completely different story. When we are practicing together, it's called Dhamma family. And you understand through that relationship, you're becoming more and more close to Buddha, more and more close to Dhamma, more and more close to your Sangha. Because it's a collective activity. So therefore this common sense, even though it is, you have to do with the solitude and physical, mental and the defilement-wise, here now I am kind of a delimitation, it's completely other side. So cope up with the other co-meditators and how to cope up with the climate, how to cope up with your food, how to cope up with other things. If you think you can compensate it by vipassana meditation, utter mistake. You have to take everything into account. Vipassana never grow unless otherwise you have the common sense. Unless otherwise you have the understanding about your food, understanding about the climate, understanding about the other people. So it's not you do by the MSc or PhD. You have to expect when the mind is maturing, when the mind is growing, they are happening. They are not what you do. They happen. So that is the kind of mindset for the vipassana yogi. So when you are practicing kayanupassana, vedananupassana, chittanupassana, dhammanupassana, it's like an ink drop system. When you keep a fountain pen on a blotting paper, soon you keep it, a dot happens. If you keep on holding it, the drop becomes slowly increasing. And that is the way your knowledge on materiality leads into the mentality. And your physical achievement ultimately all the other achievements. And your personal achievement ultimately achieved by all the people, all humanity. So at the beginning it's a drop, one dot. And when you keep on practicing, it's going. And you can't imagine the way it is diversifying. You can't imagine the potential, the potential energy, not the kinetic energy, the potential energy that is worth calling humanity. You are a human, have the complete capacity, but we manifest very tiny part at the beginning. Whenever you try to the mindfulness is ultimately make all the neurobics, all the neuron connections work, and whenever they are fully working together, that is the only thought moment worth calling living. All the other experiences are but partial. When it becomes partial, it can get a name. Physics, chemistry. But when we are on the totality, no name, and you can't claim it as me, and you can't claim this as knowledge, it's a universal thing, so you are just merging. You are just merging into that cosmic energy or universal energy. Ultimately, for my way of presentation, you are just like a product on the conveyor belt. And once it is gone, everything will be fixed and you will be ready for the market. Don't jump out of the chain. Just be there and it's going. Not at the beginning, but when it is gathering the momentum, value-added system, when it's happening. So, Sattara Satipatthana is the starting point. But even within, Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, that means contemplation of the body, feeling, mind and the other aspect, there is a kind of a evolution happened. And ultimately that understanding leads to Sattara Sampajanya, Sattara Samyappadhan Virya. You understand why should I take time? Why should I exert energy? Because there's evolution. And there it is also fourfold. So I am not going to take it today. We will go whenever you are continuing with for foundation of mindfulness, the kind of energy, it is better to call energy field. You get the membership in the energy field, you can't be lethargic. You cannot be lazy bones. So activation happen like a charging happen. So when it happens, maybe, yes, few nights you may go without sleep. So much of energy is happening. So don't go for sleeping tablets. Don't go for the psychiatrist telling that I can't sleep, I can't talk it to my master, please give me sleeping tablets. So after a while you will accustom, because that is the way energy is arousing. So leave it for tomorrow. I would like to sum up the talk today at this level. Thank you very much for attentive listening.